So how yummy does this look? I don't know, and we're going to find out over the next 3 days. Hi guys, and welcome back. I am taking on a new little challenge for myself over the next 3 days. I was surprised last week to realize while intermittent fasting that my blood sugar was higher than I realized it was. I've never had anything really over 100, and it was 118. So I started looking into testing my ketones and testing my blood sugar. Thankfully, I had a glucose meter in the house because of Michael. So I'm able to use his, and I started checking my ketones, and optimal is supposed to be between 1 and 3, and I scored a 0.2, I think, in the morning a few days ago, and then a 0.5 the next day when I tested right before I ate. So does not appear that they are optimal. And in researching, I listened to some videos with Dr. Boz and learned about the 3-day or 72-hour Sardine Fast challenge. So I'm trying that. It's supposed to help kind of recalibrate things, sort of boost up your ketones, and to help reduce your blood sugar, both of which I need. So I've started, and this is going to be, I have a little selection of different sardines to try, and I really have never eaten sardines other than when I was 15 and learning to drive. My dad was off on Wednesdays, and he would take me for driving lessons. And he loved to have sardines and crackers, and he thought you should always have those in the car with you. And that was just, I don't know, his idea of a snack. So I can remember eating sardines on saltine crackers when I was 15, and I probably have not had them since then. But so I have just some great value sardines in water. I understand that the ones in oil are probably going to be a little bit better because they have more fat in them, but they all were soybean oil, and I'm trying to stay away from soy, so just a personal preference. And then I have another brand that is in Louisiana hot sauce, and then another just completely different brand. I think this one is skinless and boneless, which again I don't think is ideal because it does not have the added fat that comes in the skin, but we'll see how we like these. I'm weighing, I am checking my blood sugar, I am checking my ketones, and I am starting off with a ketone level of 0.4. So we're going to see on day 2 how that changes and how my weight changes. So that's what I'm doing. So the gist of the diet is, or the fasting challenge, is that you do not eat anything other than sardines, and you can have as many as you want, apparently. I guess unless you really love them and you tend to go overboard. But you can have 1 to 2 cans. You can have 3, 4, 5 cans a day, I guess. So I think I'll start off with just 1 and see what happens. There's a couple of little variations in how you can flavor them. You can put hot sauce in them. You could add some onions. You could add a little bit of lemon juice. You could saute them up in some butter. That sounds like it might be a good idea for one meal, but we'll see. But I think the trick seems to be that if you are hungry enough to eat sardines, then you truly are hungry. And if nothing else is on the menu and eating sardines doesn't sound appealing, then maybe you're not really hungry. So I think that's where I'm starting, and it's supposed to last for 72 hours, 3 days. So we'll see how this goes. So it kind of feels like a Monday. I just recorded all of the information I'm about to share with you and realized I had not turned my mic on. So here we go with take number 2. I did survive the Sardine Fast challenge and did accomplish a little bit of the main goals that I was working toward, and that was to lower my blood sugar and to increase my ketones. Those were the two things I was most interested in. So here is the breakdown in all of this. But first of all, I want to say that I am obviously not a health professional and I'm not a nutritionist. So I don't want for anyone to take this as advice. I'm just sharing what my experience was with the sardine fast to just share what I learned from it. So first, I want to say that the basic parameters that I followed in doing this, I know that there are a lot of rules and other people have made plenty of videos about the fast and laid out the guidelines, but I basically just stuck to eating sardines, not having any other food during the 72 hours. I did have coffee, and I did drink lots of water, but I did not, I did add a few things to my sardines, specifically on the last day. So, the first day started, I started the challenge with my first meal of the day being around 10 o'clock. And I started with a can of regular sardines in oil. I did add a little drizzle of a little extra olive oil and a little bit of extra salt just to make sure I was getting plenty of salt and as much fat as possible. That can was pretty good, and I was a little surprised at how much I semi enjoyed it. So I went ahead and ate a second can because I thought, hey, if one is good, then two would have to be even better for me, right? Because sardines are supposed to be so nutrient dense. So I had those two cans at lunch. I spent some time researching this challenge before I did it, and I came across some other people who were doing adding chopped onions and chopped parsley, along with I think a drizzle of olive oil and salt to their sardines. So the second um, meal I had one of these giant cans. This is just really insane. But these were actually in a tomato sauce, which is not really thick tomato sauce. It was just kind of lightly flavored. Although I put them in a bowl, chopped them up, I added some chopped red onion and cilantro and the olive oil and a little salt to that. And it was really not very good. But that's a lot of sardines to put to waste. So I ate as much as I could. The cats did get a little bit. I think I fed some to the chickens and they loved it. But it really left a bad taste in my mouth for the rest of the evening. Honestly, I felt it or I tasted it probably for hours afterwards. So I would not do that one again and I would not recommend it to anyone. The next day, I still had the taste of that in my uh, mouth and it was just, it ruined my appetite for quite a while. I was not ready to eat until at least noon the following day. That meal, I went back to just one of the great value sardines and water. Um, I took that and chopped it up, added it to a skillet, warmed it a little bit and a little bit of butter, added a pinch of salt to it, and it was much better. So I ate that same meal for lunch and for dinner on day 2. And then on day 3, we were headed out of town. So I broke my fast a little earlier than normal and had a can of the plain and water that I drained, and I added about a teaspoon of mayo to that and mixed it up. And it was very similar to like a tuna salad, which is much more palatable. And so much so that I ate the same thing around 1:30 yesterday, um, and that was the last can that I ate while doing the challenge. So I came home um, and was preparing a breakfast for dinner for my husband and son, and decided that I would just go ahead and break the whole challenge and the fast with a really good meal because I was ready for something desirable to eat. So I had farm raised bacon, I had fresh eggs, and I had a little bit of yogurt and some salsa and some cheese, and followed up that meal with a keto version of a cheesecake fluff, which was really good. And I'll share that recipe later. But needless to say, I went to bed very full last night and was feeling much better. Um, so I wanted to give you the breakdown of what my actual goal was of lowering my blood sugar and raising my ketones and let you see what happened. So first, I started out with a blood sugar count of 118 on the first day. And I also had a ketone level of zero point 0.4. On the second day, my blood sugar levels dropped from 118 to 100. I felt pretty confident about that. And my ketone level went from zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.7. So I was pleased with that. Then on day 3, my blood sugar dropped to 94. So overall, almost 20 points, over 20 points lower. And my ketones were still at zero point 0.7 on that day. I did drop down about 2 pounds during the 3 days, but I know that it was just because my caloric intake was lower than normal, and definitely I bounced back from that with the heavy meal that I had at the very end of it. But in the end, when I woke up and I checked everything this morning, my blood sugar levels had popped back up because I had those sweets, but still was lower. It was like 113. Um, I'm going to keep an eye on that. Definitely need to work on that. But my ketone level was zero point 0.9. I was really pleased with that. And then my weight was steady at the same amount that I started out at. So overall, ketones went from zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.9, and my blood sugar level dropped by about 5 points over about 3 days' time. So I felt like that was pretty good and definitely made it worthwhile. I definitely will be working on keeping my carbs as low as possible so that I can get my blood sugar levels down, and we'll continue to work on the ketones. I think that aside from the negative experience with the sardines and tomato sauce and the onions, that was just not a good combination for my taste palette. But I think I might do this again, and I'll give myself about a week or two. So if there's anyone that would like to join me on another challenge, I would love to have some company in that. And if you've done this challenge before and are willing to share your experience, I would love to hear about it. So share below or comment and let me know if you would be interested in doing a group challenge and see how the sardine fast could affect you. Hope you guys have a great day. We'll catch you on the next one.